going. And we are live. So let's talk about first our SPY journey yesterday and how we traded that. It was a really, really good day trading. So first off, we had the market open right here on this big push north. I did not trade this market open big push north. What I was looking for here is I wanted to see a rejection. We had a few things that had popped out right in our room. We had actually taken this trade. Not only we took this trade, but if you look here, right, this was the market open. Our ATA, we actually we didn't take this one. This was our first close. Actually took the trade, so our automated trading caught it as well as we did in the room. I just like to go over what we saw when we caught it. One, we had a massive pump. It rejected, we came down, right, found some support, rejected again, causing a little shorter term double top, which came down with some some volume. What I also liked about this too is we had this trend line that we've been following for some time, where we had a lot of rejections, and the moment it broke this trend line and it came down with some kind of steam, right here. It came up, rejected it, or it retested it, rejected, and then just absolutely collapsed, right? And so this was a massive, massive trade for people. It's no surprise that we found support at 52.83. You can see it literally hit off the line. If these lines are the same ones as yesterday, you all can look at the community events. That's why we record everything. And so the reason why we had this lower line, you have some support here, and then I can continue to go back here. This was the main peak that I started with. This was the support that we pressed it off of. We cut through this here because it did break it, but it instantly reclaimed it, and it came down and it retested it yesterday on pre-market. So I did like this line, and it played out perfectly, right? So we knew to squeeze it to maximize profit, closed our trades around here somewhere. And then this one right here ended up pumping up like that, right? So it was just a perfect call setup as far as that goes. And if you look at the indicators, we actually caught the long, caught the short, and then caught the long again on the harmonic, as well as the short over here too. So it did really well indicator wise. So that was the day. That was I only did those two trades for the day. I didn't take anything else. And so let's talk about kind of where we are now. So let me mute up this a little bit. So we do have this trend line down here for our lower. We marked 454.74 for our upper. Let's go to the 1 hour and just kind of, zoom out and see what it looks like, right? So this is what our 1 hour looks like. So the first thing I always like to look at is the RSI. So we have plenty of room that we can go up still. If that RSI goes up, likely that we would come up and retest this 456.44. Now, if we, for some reason, end up getting enough volume to surpass 456.44, I would make sure that you prepare to set up a put. I would not take any calls up in this range, because once it gets to about here, 447, 457, it may not even make it to there, right? It's going to reject really hard, because if you go to let's just pull this out like this, right? All right, so this is our mark right there, right? So this is a lot of resistance here. So it rejected hard right here. So this when it hit it the back here, it's let's just call it almost 458. It rejected all the way to 443, and then we know this one rejected even further. Even when it passed it up into here, it rejected all the way back down to 449. So we're just getting into some serious resistance areas, right? So expect to have a lot of rejection bounces as it tries to continue to climb. So those are your great opportunities to take puts. Me, I'm probably not going to take many calls up. Anything above 455, I'm not taking the call. If I see a perfect setup for a scalp, then I will. But it's going to be it'll have to be pretty perfect. You can see on the 4 hour, we are starting to be very double topish. Not really on the daily, but the 4 hour, for sure a possibility, right? So we could probably take this line, and if we want to identify that, we can just pull it up to this wick here. And we'll just line these two wicks up like that because we're currently below that, right? So this would put it to where, if we go back to the 2 minute, let's see where that white line lines up. All right, so the white line lines up here. So, which is, you know, definitely a possibility, right? We could easily continue to market open, climb north, and then expect a rejection off of 455.29, at least one, right? So that could be a great spot for a nice little put scalp. If I do decide to take a call, it's only going to be off of retests of the 1 hour EMAs and such, or SMA. So let's just see where that's sitting. All right, so we have the SMA is here. The SMA is 454.21. The EMA is all the way down to 449.26. So for me to take a call, it would have to be either somewhere in this range here, 451. I would want to see some really solid support held because we have what was once resistance turned to support. It could come down and continue to be support, right? And we could just be ranging in this area. So I'm okay with taking a potential call down here. I'm okay with taking a potential call off of here because this is the 200 EMA. So likely by the time we get to it, it's going to be up here. So that'll be a double support line, right? Because we had what was resistance turned support. So this is my area for calls. And then my put area is pretty much going to be, you know, anything, I mean, really around where we are, 155.18. I just won't take it right away on market open. I want to see the market open and push past this trend line here, and then bust kind of, you know, north a little bit. And then if anything up here, if I see any kind of like like this, you know, resistance like this, once my indicators all line up, taking that put. So it's kind of my plan today. Again, disclaimer, plans may change, right? Depending on the news, depending on how it's looking. You know, if you're not sure and you want to trade the SPY with us, then you guys can come in to the trading floor. So you guys can come in for free and hang out with us. So you just got to sign up at botjock.com. So let's talk about Apple. Not much to talk about, to be honest. We drew a couple lines here, you know, which it's been wicking above, you know, and then rejecting. It's not really doing a whole lot. We're right in the middle on the RSI. We found support on the 200 EMA, right, which was a nice call. So again, you know, I always love to look at the 1 hour on the 200 EMA because once you get this known support like this, I mean, it's a nice little quick scalp if you wanted to take that. I mean, you could enter this around 191 all the way up to, you know, 195 almost, which is a nice scalp. So currently, you know, I don't really see a lot of weakness in a sense, other than the fact that we do have some small gap fills. So we may see, like, you know, one more push up to 194.30 or so, and then a rejection back down to 191, just kind of ranging there. And as the 200 EMA comes up, as well as the 21 SMA, right, you're going to begin to get that squeeze. So this might continue like this, and it just stays above it, right, and then has one more little pop up, and then a rejection is definitely a possibility for Apple. For me, I'm not taking any calls with Apple up here because, I mean, you're just playing with fire. I mean, could you get something like this? Yeah, but you better be quick on your toes, or you're gonna get wrecked. So, but you know, it's scary to take puts on these too, right? Because our Bollingers have green. We are a little more bearish than bullish, meaning that typically this is preparing to flip more bullish. And the RSI is right smack in the middle, and it's green. Right, so you know, there's really no setups yet that I see, other than, you know, you can attempt to play the range that it's going between 194 and 194 and 191 would be the ranges. So let's look at Google. All right, so far, remember we drew this. Actually, it's kind of funny. This is playing out. So I teach people in the room. Never be afraid to draw something early. And if y'all remember, I drew this bull, or I'm sorry, this potential bear flag really early. Like, there was not even a second peak. I just took this one right here, and then we just parallel lined it up. And what's cool is, if you look at this, it did break it. It broke it, and then it rejected back into it, right? Then we came up, and then look where this wick hit. literally hit right there off of our line, and then it's rejected so far. So I'd be really curious to see on Google how that plays out. Now, keep in mind, we do have the 21 SMA had the death cross back here, and now it's got the golden cross right here, right? So my and or if situation for Google is if we come down and retest 121.70 or so, and we hold as support, you could probably get a nice little scalp up to about 123. Now, if we break this SMA and this 200 EMA, you can almost ride that put from 121 down to about 120. And then just kind of see if we get some support. If you want to take the call, you can take the call up here. But remember, if this does fall down and it touches this, then we've confirmed that this is our bearish pattern. So so be really careful with that when taking calls. So for me to see this invalidated, I would need to have it break above this white line and hold as support, and then you can ride that call up like that. But until then, it's just risky, right? I mean, you can even see we have a peak, down, peak, right? Which is almost kind of like your double top on the 1 hour. So if it breaks this neckline around 121, somewhere in this range, right, it could bring some steam, dropping it all the way back down to 119. Then likely you'll come up for the retest, and then you'll have the true fall. So we're not really overbought yet, but it is still green on there. So Microsoft, we remember we drew this. It's playing out a little bit different. We had our pole, we had our flag that we were kind of following. It did come down for the retest all the way down. We did break above this trend line, and you can see it's beginning to create higher high, higher low. So Microsoft's looking potentially a little more bullish. If you look at the 21 SMA is about right here, and so we came down, it turned, and it rejected right off of for support off of the 200 EMA. So I definitely can see some potential upside for Microsoft. You actually even almost kind of have like a little shoulder head, and then you might get a shoulder here, right, pump. So if you wait for a retest somewhere around 346, right, and then enter that call, you might make some good money off of that, because if that shoulder does play out, you can take your neckline. It's either going to be this wick here, or that might just been a FOMO wick. This one lines up a little bit better because it hits these two perfectly. So if you start to see a shoulder form here, this is where you'd want to watch for the break and then ride that call up. If it does not break this, it's going to get invalidated. And that's going to push it all the way back down to about 342. So that would be the plays that I would do for Microsoft. All right, Amazon. So our zone tracker is picking up a range between 129 and 134-ish. If y'all remember, I drew this line here. Our zone tracker's a little noisy. Let's just go like that, because it just... The reason why it's so green is because if you look at this, there's just so much support that was held around 127 range. So, we did get our double top. We failed, got our retest, which failed again. The thing on this one is, we do have bullish divergence that is starting to pop up on our indicator. We are green, but we're not quite green on the Bollinger Bands. The only thing I don't like for Amazon quite right now is that the 21 SMA, we broke below it, rejected off of it, tried to beat it, couldn't do it, rejected, and we're currently still below it. So let's see where the 200 is. We got to bring the zone tracker back. Okay, so the 200, we're currently below that as well for the 1 hour, because that's right here. So if we continue to stay below this, it's going to squeeze likely into support, but there's so much support in here, so it's likely to break it. If you flip the 21 SMA around 129, like 129.40 on market open, then it's likely to go at least up to 131. So you can get a nice little call scalp there. You do have you have the divergence calling for that bullishness, as well as just this massive green area here. So I would definitely be really careful of taking a put down here. If you were going to take a put on it, you would have wanted to do it off of this line up here, like we talked about. So let's jump into Tesla. Keep in mind, what I tell everybody is you can follow 8 different stocks. You don't have to trade 8 different stocks. Pick the best one that has the best setup, right? And that's kind of what I tell people. You know, there's like that last one on Amazon. Yeah, I mean there could be some good plays on there, but there's better ones to do, definitely. So I would probably play Google or Microsoft before I would play that Amazon one. So Tesla, let's take a look. So y'all remember when we were up here, I said you're nuts if you take calls. So we actually monitored it from this peak. Recently moved it up to this peak here, and so this was when we had our rejection last Wednesday. And so since then, it doesn't surprise me that we found support here yesterday, because if you look here, remember we talked about what was once support was resistance, right? And so we had marked that this would be pretty significant. This yellow line here, 264.96, we also said that you had resistance here, and you had support here, right? So it blew past this line, and it's currently retesting the 200 EMA on it. So this is just going to be the big make or break for Tesla. So kind of ugly looking, but you got a little shoulder head, shoulder action, right? So I would be really cautious taking a put on Tesla right now. We did have that bullish divergence call. You can see that played out perfectly. We are still green, so until this flips red, and I would like it actually a little bit higher on the 1 hour, I would be really careful taking a put on Tesla. Let's see what the harmonic's calling. Yeah, so the harmonic called the long, called the short. It still hasn't even called the long yet, so we haven't called this long yet. So until we call that actual long, I'm not super convinced that we're going all the way up to retest yet. So I would be patient with those indicators if you're trading with those. So let's take a look. So if we do flip the 200, I would say the next potential put area would be around the 279, 280 area. You could probably get a nice little put off that. But keep in mind, if it flips it, I mean, there's really not a lot stopping it if it breaks 283 until we get all the way up into here, like 304 or so. But we are getting overbought. We're just not quite overbought. So just stick to the rules, right? Just don't FOMO on that. But so far we have a low and we have a higher low of pretty nice support, right? So definitely looking potentially strong. I don't see any weakness on that. So I would be careful taking the puts until you get the right setup on Tesla. Meta. So Meta, this one actually played out perfectly, and look, our indicator caught it perfectly. So Meta, we've been calling this double top for some time. Also, it had the fall from the shoulder of the double top, the retest of the neckline, and that was the big fall, which is pretty standard trading. So it did call, our indicator did catch the short, which means it did catch the long here. It did call a short here, but obviously you have tons of support here, right? So there's other factors. Plus you're right on the 200 EMA. So remember, we have rules that you want to follow, which we teach in the room. So we are getting a little bullish divergence that popping up here, because you can see you have 1, 2, 3 higher lows, and then you actually, if you pull back, you have 1, 2, 3 lower lows, right? So we are starting to see a little bit of strength come through on Meta, and so you likely could take some call scalps. I would just be careful, if you do take something on market open or close to, just be careful around 304, really around 300, honestly, because we could get a pump up here, reject off the 200 EMA, right, and then have it drop back down for a lower low, right, because we are in that reversal pattern. So and again, we could get a little mini inverse head and shoulder, right? So you could look for this little shoulder, and if that neckline breaks, then that would be enough to push it with some steam north. So I'm going to jump into the Dixie. We'll skip the other two just for the sake of time. The Dixie's doing what we had talked about actually. I'm gonna mute the harmonic one. All right, so we talked about this for a while now. You know, we had the double top, or I'm sorry, double bottom. It came up, retested the neckline, and we've just been on a tear north since. It took a little bit longer than I thought it would, but you can see, you know, what we talked about with this double bottom is that if we retest and hold support and we flip this 200 EMA, it's likely going to reclaim this side, which it already has. So now that we've reclaimed that side, you know, we can zoom out and see, you know, where we are slightly rejecting off of has been also known as heavy support areas, right? And so, you know, a lot of times I'm going to look for some other little lines like this and see if you take a line like here, right, now you have the low. You also have right here where it had tried to get support, but then it broke it. And it's kind of right where it's rejecting, right? So we would need to break this this trend line. So if we can flip 101.53 and hold it as support, then we're starting to come up to 102.69. But we have a lot of news. You know, we have news tomorrow, so that's gonna make or break it. I mean, if the news comes out bullish for the dollar, it's going to explode up into here, and we're going to 102.74. If the news comes out bearish for the dollar, then all of this is going to be lost, and it will just come right back down. So, going to be very, very news dependent. All right, Bitcoin. So we talked about this arrow. Someone delete that. That was yesterday. Again, you know, we talked about how Bitcoin, you know, kind of looking a little on the weaker side. You know, we did come across here. It did collapse through. If you look at the 21 SMA and the 200 EMA, we are currently fighting the SMA right now. You can see we are below it, that it's trying to lose. If it begins to curl this way and the SMA gets a squeeze around 28.8, I know we talked about the next drop was around 28.4, 28.2, somewhere in here, because it was once heavy resistance. And so that could be the, you know, remember we always talk about, you know, we had fall 1 over, we could have fall 2 down to there, and then go sideways, and then have fall 3, which is around here, around 26.8 is the bottom. I will tell you, if we get anywhere around that 26.8, I am going to be taking nothing but longs on that, because it's going to be a pretty nice bounce. Because you can see we did the same thing here, right? It just continued to bleed down, and then bam, just shot up, right? And so that's what we're looking for on that retest. Now, again, very news dependent, so be careful with how much. Don't over leverage yourself. Don't over, you know, do it with your margin, because we could easily get some really good news, have it pump, and if we get enough volume that it pumps us back up to about 30,000, you know, within a few candles from the news. We've now flipped the 200 EMA, right? And people are going to see that as bullish, and we're going right back to 31.6 or so. So, you know, as long as we stay below here, you know, I like to take the shorts. Just keep in mind we have lost, you know, quite a bit. I mean, we went from, you know, 30,200 down to 28.8, right? And we're still sitting at about $1,000 drop. So, you know, if we flip the 21 SMA, then we're likely to come up and retest the 200 EMA around 29.8. So just kind of play your range. If you're below it, take your shorts. If you're above it, take your longs. And then let's talk about the SPY. So this is our ATA. This is the automated trading portion that we do. We currently have the copy trade going. If you're somebody who knows how to trade options, you just don't have a lot of time to sit in front of your chart, this is for you. You can actually get this indicator on your own trading view, and you can actually run it yourself. So here's what the settings look like. You can kind of pause to read if you're on the YouTube. And for TikTok, I'm not sure if you can see that. Let's see. Let's zoom in here. So these are the settings that we do. So you have the option to go call or put. We do only support the SPY currently. We will expand that later. We have built-in strategies. Parabolic SARS is not a real aggressive one, so that's the one I've used if I believe we're high or low in the range, depending on the direction. You get to choose how many days contracts you want to do, what time you want to trade. If you only like trading between 10 and 2, you can set that. If you want to close all trades at the end of the day, you can set what time you want to close all trades. If you just, if you say, hey, after 2 o'clock, I'm out, like either it won or it didn't, right? Then you can do that. Strike price has to be by percent. It's just the way the code works. So we typically do about 0.5% on those, which is about $2 away or something like that. Take profits are preset. You can always change those. You can do these on any time frames you want. If you want to do more long-term contracts, if you want to do 14-day contracts, you can. 30-day contracts, you can. You just set it up on higher time frames and it'll work out good for you. And then increase the take profits, obviously. You could choose how many DCAs you want to do, how much you want the price to run before it DCAs, what the multiplier is, and you can choose to stop out of trades if you want. And you can choose to tell it to stop trading if it stops out of a trade. So you have all of the customization at your fingertips here if you know how to trade. If you don't know how to trade, don't worry about it. All you have to do is sign up onto our site, and we do have a copy trade option. So when you're setting up your Tastytrade account and you link it into our website, there's an option that you can drop down and hit enable copy trade, and then you just follow whatever I do here, which I do on the huddles every single morning. So let's talk about what we're gonna do. Let's open up our alerts. So we know that our calls were out, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. The put is still in a put because this was our trade, so it took a put here. Took TP2 out of it, which was really, really good. It did enter a put here, trying to get a quick scalp. We actually got into profit, but it was just too fast out of it for it to close it. So we are in that put, but it's a 4-day put, and we're not too far from the range. So then it stayed pretty patient throughout the day as we were running the parabolic SARs. So it is very patient. It did capture this nice little scalp on the way up, and since then it did not take any calls. So I'm okay with taking calls, but what I'm going to do is we're going to set this up for 3 days because today's Tuesday. I'm not going to set it up to trade right at market open. The reason why I don't like that is because sometimes at market open you'll get a really big candle and then it closes, and it's easy to fake out an indicator or even our ATAs and have it try to throw a long right there, but then it pumps up and then it rejects right away, right? So sometimes that first initial push is not the right way. So that's why I like to push it 15 minutes past. So we'll do strike price 0.5 again. DCA will do 0.5 as well. Just keep that like that. And then I'm just going to adjust this to today. You don't have to keep adjusting it if it's out of the trade, but I just like to. Because there's so many variables and options that I like to adjust the settings pretty regularly. So, and I'm still going to do parabolic SARs for calls. So we'll go ahead and set that up, and we'll add the alert. All right, so we are locked and loaded for our calls. Our puts it's already in a put. We're not far, so at times some people have seen I will take another indicator added on here and I will run a fresh round of puts. I don't like it when it's so close because we're not even a little over $1 away from profit, so it's not really that far. If I begin to see this run and we get up to 455, 456, absolutely. I will, after the huddle, I will throw on another indicator and we'll let it take a couple puts on the way back down to mitigate. It's kind of a way to mitigate what potential loss that this may incur, right, as it goes up. So that's the beauty of it is you can add as many of these indicators as you want to. Yeah, so that's kind of the setup for today, guys. The put, this is the settings. I have to leave this as a 4-day because until it gets out of the trade. Yeah, and then once I see it actually get out of that trade, what I'll do is we'll adjust this to the 3-day, and then I'll probably adjust this to 9:45 again, and then just adjust the closing date. That's it. I am running range filter. I'll probably keep running range filter. So for those that are following along. And that is all we have. So Sounds good. So that's all I have, guys. I'm gonna jump off the video here for those trading today. I will open up the room around 9 a.m. I can trade until about probably 10 a.m. today, maybe 10:30, depending. I do have some things I have to do, but I still like to open it up for an hour or so because I do get most of my trades early completed. Plus, it allows y'all to get any questions in on the ATA as well. So, but I appreciate y'all's time. I'll see you in the room soon.